Well, hello, John Luke. It's good to be back with you again. I love that music.
It's so rejuvenating. It's like a cup of coffee
Oh, my
with the
goodness.
pastor.
Let's have a cup of coffee. What do you say? Well, hey, here we are. We're getting together today, and we're talking again in this podcast about our upcoming series. What in the world has it been about anyway? What have we been talking about?
About a bunch of Peter-related stuff, like self-control, goodness, godliness, and faith. We've been talking about a lot of really practical stuff that's helpful for life, it seems like.
You know, the funny thing is the things that we're talking about have been hidden in plain sight right in front of us. Kind of like this weird looking thing you've got in the back there. And I know you can't see it, but there is a guy on the screen. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I made that.
Oh, you made that. Okay, so you did notice it. Well, it's interesting, this whole thing that we've been talking about, these truths that Peter has told us that have been hidden in plain sight. This week, we've been talking, of course, about add to your faith, goodness, knowledge, self-control, perseverance, all these things. But this week, he gets to a kind of a funny thing. Funny because it's brotherly love. And it got me to thinking about that movie. And I don't know if you saw it. If not, we need to break out of here and go watch it. And it's called Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And I remember the first time that I saw that, I fell asleep. And then the second time I saw it, I fell asleep too, come to think of it. But then I started getting into it, and it is so iconic. But that movie is filled full of symbolism and allegories and motifs, but far beyond the entertainment of the movie is just the simplicity of brotherhood. And you have three different guys there who are convicts, and in a sense they're just trying to care for one another along their long journey together. And anybody who's ever had an extended relationship with a friend knows the difficulty of what it's like to have to do that, especially when it comes under difficult circumstances. And I know you had a brother.
Yeah, had a brother.
Had a brother. He would have
no
been...
more. Our brotherly conflict really just came to a head when we had a duel, lightsaber duel, as you do, to the death.
I thought that you had sent him off to the French Legion. Okay, so there's the truth of it. Well, you know what? I don't think brother relationships are any different or any less difficult than it was in this movie. And so when we go into this week's message, you have a guy like Peter, the apostle, who wrote this book, of course, because it's his epistle, and he's talking about adding to your faith brotherhood. And I find it interesting because Peter's brother Andrew is actually the one who introduced Peter to Jesus. And in fact, there's a couple of other brothers that became disciples that day. That would be James and that would be John. But all four of them grew up together, and they all four probably became members of the Zebedee Fishing Corporation about the same time. And but these guys proved right away that, well, brotherhood, it's not easy. What was it like for you growing up with your brother?
Yeah, the brotherly affection wasn't really something that was very present in my life. There was always jealousy, there was always pride, there was always just anger towards each other, annoyance. We didn't have that great of a relationship growing up, except for when we were doing things like hiding away and playing video games, like when mom and dad didn't know. Or then we got along really, really well. We were united in our desire to escape discipline and be rebellious, but we didn't really have too much love for each other at that point, as far as I knew, at least.
Do you remember an expression that was given in the Bible, in the New Testament, about James and John? What were they called?
The Sons of Thunder.
I wonder if you guys were sons of thunder, maybe sons of lightning.
Yeah, maybe.
But you can just imagine then, what it's like raising two sons that are constantly at each other. You're just not the first. And there was James and John. There were sons of thunder. I imagine there was nothing but thunder and lightning around those two boys growing up. But brotherhood can be tricky, can't it? Mm-hmm. It can just be very tricky. For example, like we said, Peter was introduced to Jesus by Andrew. And so it would have been easy to think that Andrew thought to himself, I should take the lead in this thing. And yet it's not the way that it was, because once Peter was introduced to Jesus, then Andrew seems to step back. And it's almost as if he said, Peter, if it wasn't for me, you would never even met this guy. So you have that kind of a competition with each other. And I think Peter would have probably understood that years later when he talks to us about this in this particular passage. And he's saying there's unique intricacies in any relationship, but you need to understand how spiritually enriching it can be. So maybe you can tell how about the last time that you and your brother got together? What was it like as two adults getting together?
Well, we really got along really well. I was just wanting to make amends for just what a jerk I had been as a brother, and we really had a blast. And I gotta think too with Andrew and Peter, maybe they did have conflict and stuff like that, but like you're saying, Andrew showed Peter something that he really thought was something so important. He thought it was the Messiah. He was like, yo, Peter, I found out this really awesome person. Like, you got to check him out.
Right.
And so, in a way, maybe that's showing the brotherly love too. It's like, in the end, you really do care about each other and you want each other to hear about these really awesome things.
So there's sibling rivalry for sure, and there's envying, there's suspicion among brothers. But Peter's asking something far deeper than that. He's saying, listen, when it comes to your faith, you've already got this faith thing working here. And what I want you to do is add to your faith brotherly love. And it turns out that you know what, we need grace and we need understanding with our brothers. And if we're going to do love with one another, it's got to start with your brother, right? It's got to start right there. And sometimes our brother is our enemy, but he's saying, no, you got to graduate above that. And I can name you off people that I have not spoken to, or not that I haven't spoken to, but that we've had, that we've met, that haven't spoken to their family for years. And it can be like that for decades sometimes, simply because of disagreements, simply because of hurts, simply because of, well, I don't know. But sometimes bloodlines and sometimes friendships can get tricky. And what Peter is trying to say is you got to step beyond that, because your brother has something to offer to you. And I have something to offer to my brother. He has something to offer to me. And it just really, who my brother is, sometimes it centers around the age-old question, are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Don't you think, Peter? Or Peter's brother, John Luke?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure everybody knows, but like, it's not just limited to brothers. It's like sisters too. It's like, you have brothers and sisters in the church. But the word, it's probably coming from the Greek word of, what was it called? The brotherly love.
Oh, phileo.
Is that what the word is?
We're going to get into those for this Sunday. As a matter of fact, there's 4 different words for that in the Greek for love, what love is. And we're going to get into the breakdown of that. But what we're going to find out Sunday most of all is, who is your brother? And after all, isn't that what matters, is who is your brother? We're going to find that out Sunday morning. But I can tell you this, she is a lot closer than you think. What you need to do is to love the one that God has placed you in relationship with, and love the ones that aren't going to make it easy for you. Stepping out of who you are and your own prejudices and your own feelings and saying, you know what, God has called me to love you, and you have something to give to me that's important. Well, I'm looking forward to this. That's what we're going to do Sunday. What do you think?
Great. I have a lot to learn about brotherly love.
I think we probably all do. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on Sunday, and God bless you. Here's the music again, John. It's coming back, so it must be time for us to say goodbye.
All right. See y'all Sunday.
All right. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.
Grab a cup of coffee before you forget.